If you're in sales and marketing and you're running outbound to prospects, you're probably tired of templated emails that don't work or AI-generated written content that doesn't resonate. Today, we're fixing that. By the end of this video, you'll have built a fully automated and hyper-personalized outbound workflow in n8n that does everything for you. You'll first research your prospects, such as their company news plus latest LinkedIn updates, before generating a personalized intro video with your own AI clone. You'll also send a friendly voice note in your voice directly to their phone numbers, all without you spending hours researching, typing, or recording yourselves. It is outreach that feels human because it is still you, just automated and powered by GPT 5.1. As always, I'm going to build this live step by step and with minimal technical jargons, so it's easy to follow along even if you have no coding or technical background. If you're completely new to n8n, you should still be able to follow along the build, but it's probably a good idea to check out my previous video, which I'll link right up here and down below for an intro to what n8n is and cover the foundational concepts. Also, if you find my videos useful, hit that like button and consider subscribing. Now let's dive right in. Alright, so this is the workflow that we're going to build today. It's going to be triggered by a Google Sheet trigger. Specifically, it's going to be the row added Google Sheet trigger. So every time you add a new row, it's going to trigger the entire workflow. Of course, you can use any other source. Google Sheet is not the only one that you can use. You can use Notion, Clay, any other tools that you might use. But I'm just going to use Google Sheet because that seems to be like the easiest way to start. And if you have any other sources, you can just switch that into the list that you're using. Of course, then that goes into a short JavaScript code, and the reason why there's JavaScript code here is because Google Sheet by default is going to return you the entire sheet the moment it's triggered. So we only want the latest entry. So this code is doing that, but don't worry, you don't actually have to code anything. As always, I'm going to link the template for free down below of this workflow so you can actually just download it and get it up and running in your system. And of course, I'll be running through what I'm pasting into the node step by step as well. But once that's done, that actually goes into a research agent here. So let me just scroll in. Research agent, which is powered by GPT 5.1 using Perplexity, and the idea is it's going to research the prospect or the leads through the LinkedIn URL, through the company information to find out what are the information that we can personalize on when doing our outreach. And that will be passed on into the scripting agent. So the scripting agent will now have an overview of what the prospect company is, information is like, the latest LinkedIn activities and stuff like that. And it will then craft a specific script, in this case for both the video clone as well as the audio clone, and it's actually branching out here. So the top one is actually the video clone, and we're using HeyGen in this case. Of course, there are many other tools that you can use to clone yourselves in terms of video, but HeyGen is just a simple way to do it. And I've used it in my past videos, so this shouldn't be anything new. But essentially, HeyGen is going to create the video based on the script. So it's going to be an AI clone of yourself narrating through the scripts that's been generated by the scripting agent. And it's going to wait 30 seconds, going to get the results, which is a video. And then it's going to pass that on into an email agent before sending it out through email. So the prospect is going to receive an email, crafted, personalized for them, but at the same time, a video attached in the email that they can watch as an intro video. And then the other pathway is to go into the audio generation by ElevenLabs in this case, and it's going to send that through Twilio, and they will be receiving the voice note on their SMS or MMS. Of course, you can also send it to their WhatsApp if they have a WhatsApp, or even LinkedIn note if you like, but that won't be through Twilio, that will be through a different tool. But today we're just going to show the use case when it's going through the SMS route. So going into the blank workflow now, the first node that we want to hit here is the Google Sheets node. So again, we want to choose row added in this case. So I already have my Google Sheet account connected, and if you don't know how to connect that, do check out my past videos again for the foundational walkthrough. But you want it to trigger every minute because we want it to monitor that sheet every minute. And in this case, we're going to choose from list. And I already have a sheet created. It's called leads. So it looks like this is just a simple Google Sheet of name of the prospect, email address, phone number, company, industry, LinkedIn URL. So, you just populate this Google Sheet with the prospects that you have. And again, if you guys don't already have an infrastructure on how to scrape leads and stuff like that, do let me know, comment down below. And I'll try to put together a scraping workflow as my next video if that's of interest to anybody. But everyone has a different kind of infrastructure on how they scrape leads. But in this case, we're assuming that you already have your list of leads, list of people that you want to target. You're just putting it into this Google Sheet or any other sheet that you want to work with. So going back into the workflow, the list is called leads, so it's actually calling that. And from the list, there's only one sheet, so that's going to be sheet 1. And I'm going to hit fetch test event. There you go. As you can see, it's actually returning the entire table that we have here, which is the two names, Christoph and Teddy. So what I want, obviously these are kind of dummy profiles. Teddy's one's actually real with a LinkedIn URL. This is just so that there's some information available on LinkedIn for the AI to scrape and stuff like that as a sample, right? So in this case, as I mentioned earlier, because it's returning the entire list of the sheet, what we want to do is actually introduce a code node next. And the reason we want to do this is because we want to fetch the latest one, the latest entry, and not the entire entry, right? So that's essentially what it's doing. And of course, you can ask AI to say, hey, I want the latest entry and not the entire thing, and it's going to generate a code for you. But in this case, I already have a generated codes here. Again, I just went to any other LLM, and you can do the same too, and just copy it over here. I'm going to hit execute step. And as you can see, it's giving me the latest entry, which is Teddy Joy with the dummy email address, dummy phone number, so that we actually have some information to work off on to hyper-personalize later on. And so cool, again, you don't have to worry about the code notes here. I will be sharing the full template down the link below, so you can just look at that. So the next node after this is the AI agent node. In particular, is the research agent node. So we want to call this research agent. So the job of the research agent to research the prospects or leads that we have, right? So under the user message, what we're going to do is we're just going to type in name, email address, phone number, company, industry. So all the fields that we have on the left here that's been generated, and LinkedIn URL. Okay, so the reason why we want to do that, I'm going to toggle to expression here, blow it up, is we want to drag the name here so that it will dynamically change whenever there's a new entry for the workflow, right? So this is to inform the AI agent the information of the prospects from the names, email address, phone number, company, industry, LinkedIn URL. Okay, so we have that. That's the user message. And of course, what we want to do here is we want to add a system message to define what the job of the research agent is. In this case, I already have a prompt or a system prompt readily generated. And you can do that with going into ChatGPT, Claude, whatnot, to create or prompt engineer a good system prompt. But in this case, high level, what we're telling it to be is an outbound research agent for Purple Unicorn, which is a fictitious marketing agency and influencer marketing agency. Your mission is to use Perplexity tool to research a signed prospect, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but essentially telling it it's supposed to research with Perplexity, identify opportunities based on the information, etc., right? So come up with a summary of the research is what we want it to do. So on the chat model here, we want to choose OpenAI chat model, choose right account, and I already have a few accounts connected here. But if this is your first time and you don't have an OpenAI account connected, what you can do is you can simply go to platform.openai.com and it'll bring you to a dashboard. You have to log in, obviously, sign up. And essentially, you can go to the API key section and create a new secret key. So you can see I have a bunch of keys here that I've generated, but you can create a new secret key and take the API key and essentially create a new credential and just paste an API key here and you're good to go. So it's as simple as that. But yeah, of course, alternatively, you can use platform like Open Routers, which work exactly the same way, right? It's just all about the API keys. So here with Open Routers, you can choose models that are beyond just OpenAI. So you have models from Claude, Anthropic, all these other open models as well that you can use. So yeah, so it gives you a lot more flexibility if you're looking to use different models. But in this case, we're using GPT 5.1. So we are just going to use it straight from OpenAI. Type in 5.1 there. It should pop up GPT 5.1. Cool. I'm not going to give it memory for now, but you can if you like it to retain some contextual memory. But here in the tool, what's important is I want to add Perplexity tool. Again, I already have an account set up. If you don't have it, go to Perplexity, same thing, get the API keys and punch it in there, right? So model, I'm going to choose Sonnet Pro. So under text, what we want to do here is actually let AI decide how to use the Perplexity tool. So what I did was I just clicked on that little purple star sign. Same thing here, purple star sign, and this is going to allow AI to use it as they see fit, this particular agent anyway, right? So good, now we're good to go here. We're going to hit execute step and see what it comes up with. As you can see, it's accessing the OpenAI ChatGPT 5.1, and then it goes into the Perplexity tool, leveraging it to do the necessary research before coming up with the result. So cool, so now we've gotten the results here. Let's see. So prospect overview, name, role. So this is the actual prospect that I'm looking at. So Teddy Joy. So he's a realtor in Singapore. So division director at PropNext, which is a real estate company in Singapore. So this is the LinkedIn profile here. So now going back, it's actually telling me using digital marketing, social media. So some angles that we can work with here. So quite lengthy actually, so I'm not going to read all of that, but that's good because the next node that I want to hit here is another AI agent node. Again, we don't have a chat trigger node attached to this agent, so which is why we have to choose the find below and grab as the user input the output of the previous agent. So now we're feeding this particular agent the output of the previous research agent, which is the research result, because we want it to, again, this is a scripting agent, right? We want it to use the information that's been generated by the research agent to come up with the scripts. So in this case, I also want to add a system message. And the same thing, what I did was, let me toggle this expression, blow it up. I already have a system prompt generated by an LLM. So you are a script writing agent for Mark from Purple Unicorn and influencer marketing agency, and these are all fictitious. You'll receive research insights about single prospect in your company. Your job is to write personalized 30-second outreach script for narration by an AI video avatar. Now, 30 seconds might be, well, it could be either too short or too long depending on what you're talking about, but we're going to stick with that for now. All the others are kind of just telling it the tonality, stuff like that, how the format should be, etc. Trying to ask it not to be too pushy. Again, this will all be included in the template that I'll be sharing below, so don't have to worry about this. So this is a system message. We're going to attach a chat model here. So previously, I actually used OpenAI chat model to connect it with GPT 5. Again, I mentioned OpenRouter is also another option that you can use. So in this case, I already have an account on OpenRouter connected as well, and we're going to use GPT 5.1. As you can see, it also has that available here. All right, so just to show you guys that it works the same way, even though it's a different provider. Okay, so we're good now. We're going to hit execute step. Okay, there we go. So this is a script, which is just purely the script without any annotations, etc. So it says, "Hi Teddy, I came across Home Seekers." So Home Seekers is kind of the team that Teddy is working in. So if you would type in Home Seekers actually the website, or Teddy's website, which showcases the property that he's selling in Singapore. So even though it was not so obvious in his LinkedIn profile, Perplexity actually did a great job searching the net and understanding that it's connected to Teddy here, and then being able to work that into the outreach message, right? So that is actually a pretty cool thing that OpenAI did. So at Purple Unicorn, we help plug influencer-led. Okay, pretty cool. Cool, all right, so happy with that script. So what I'll do next is to call the HTTP request node. So in this case, this is the HeyGen post video. So what I want to do is essentially using the post method, ask HeyGen to generate a video of me narrating this particular script. So HeyGen is something I've covered in my previous videos. So it's essentially a text to video generation platform, and you could use multiple avatars. You can use their pre-made avatars here. But in this case, because we want it to be hyper-personalized, we want it to be a clone of us. And I've created 2 clones before in the past. So, this was quite some time ago when I had longer hair, actually. So we're going to just use this one as the avatar. So it's pretty easy to create a clone of yourself on HeyGen. So if you want to create a clone, basically, start from a video. Okay, and essentially, you just have to record yourself, do it, I think, at least 30 seconds and maximum 2 to 10 minutes. The longer the footage, obviously, the better the video would be. I think I uploaded just maybe a minute of footage for that one, so I don't expect the quality to be exceptional. But at the same time, this is just to show you guys how the workflow works in principle, and of course the final fine-tuning and stuff like that. It's got to go into the prompt engineering and the amount of footages that you actually upload. So once you create the avatar, you actually have the avatar right here. And you can actually get the avatar ID here as well, which is important when you make the API calls later on, right? And so in order to make the API calls, and again, what API is essentially just a way for you to connect the n8n environment into the external tools, in this case, HeyGen, is you want to go to heygen.com/reference/docs.heygen.com/reference/ the whole create an avatar video. So if you go to documentation under API reference, go to create avatar video v2, you actually have a curl command here which you can copy, right? So even before you copy that, you can key in your API key if you have an API key ready, and a couple of other configurations that you can add in, like the video characters and stuff like that. So some of these are pretty complicated, so you don't have to actually include everything. And in our case, we actually have the body already configured. So what I want to do here is just take this URL right here and go back to your workflow, and that was a post method, right? It says here post. So it's a post method, and what I want to do is just paste the URL over here. Authentication, generic credential type, header auth. So what I'm setting up here is essentially the API keys configuration such that you don't have to keep keying in your API keys later on. So in this case, my key is the HeyGen live key, which I've created. And if you want to know how to create the API keys and how to get it connected, so I've covered that in my previous videos and I'll link it down below and up here as well. But it's pretty easy. What you can do is just go to the bottom left-hand corner here, and under settings, you'd be able to find, I think, subscriptions API. Yeah, correct. So HeyGen API, and here we go, the API token. You can refresh that and create an API token for you. You can copy that and go back to your workflow, and you can create your credential based on that API key, right? So cool, now we have that. We want to send a body, and in this case, we want to choose using JSON. In this case, we already have it pre-formatted. And again, this is all included in the template, so you don't have to actually copy anything, but it's essentially a version of what we saw on the documentation here, right? So it's essentially saying that, hey, I want to create a video, and here's the specification of the video that I want to create. I want to use this particular avatar ID. And in this case, this ID, where I obtained it from, is through here, where you can just copy the avatar ID here, right? And for the voice, I want it to be text to speech. And in this case, the input text, which is a script, I want it to be the JSON output from the previous scripting agent. And the voice ID, essentially, where you get it from is from heygen.com/voices. So there you go. It actually gives you a list of voices that you have. And under here, you can get the voice ID to be copied into this voice ID right here. Okay, cool. So that node is good to go. I'm going to hit execute step now, and there we go. It is actually producing the video ID, which means it has been sent successfully to HeyGen. We just got to wait because right now HeyGen is processing, creating the video, right? So it's going to take some time. So we're going to wait maybe 30 seconds here. Actually, it may take much longer than that. It may take a minute, but let's run that. And then once it's done waiting, we're going to introduce the other HTTP request node, which is this time the get node. And where you want to go here is actually retrieve video and status. So here under the retrieve video result and details, what you want to do is video ID, you want to put in a dummy number like 1212, and this is going to create the video ID equals 1212 in the curl request. We don't need the API keys here because we already have the credential set up. So we're going to hit copy here and then go back to the HTTP request. I'm going to paste that over in here, and all of these are going to be auto-populated based on the curl command, right? So authentication, we want to choose the same generic credential type, hit auth, and the key is HeyGen live key that we use. Now here's the field that we want to configure, because under the video ID field, we want to make sure that we're fetching the right video ID, right? Because what we've done so far is we've asked HeyGen to create a video, we've waited, and now we want to get the video from HeyGen. We want to make sure that it's grabbing the right video by telling it the right video ID, therefore grabbing it from the wait node. Get result, okay, just rename that. API key, we don't need it anymore, again, because we already have that configured up here. So in fact, we can toggle off the entire headers, we don't need that. So yeah, so this is essentially the get result node, right? So we're gonna hit execute step there, and as you can see, the status is completed. So this is a video URL that we see right here. So let's check out what the video looked like.
Hi Teddy, I came across Home Seekers and really liked how you are leaning into digital marketing with your own in-house media team and storytellers, not just plain listings. At Purple Unicorn, we help plug influencer-led formats into setups like yours, so creators bring you new audiences while your team still controls the production and quality. Imagine a finance or property.
Okay, so it still sounds a bit mechanical, so it obviously can be improved with a bit more training in terms of giving it more footages and stuff like that. But I think it's good to go for now. Again, what I'm trying to do here is to show you guys how all of that can come together, right? So we've got the video URL here successfully created. So the next node we want to hit here is the AI agent node, and again, another AI agent node, and this would be the email agent defined below, and the user message that we want to pass on to this particular agent is the output from the research agent. And we want to require a specific output for this particular agent because we want it to have a subject head as well as body as two separate components. So here we're going to add a system message. And again, I went to an LLM to generate the entire chunk of this system prompt. But yeah, high level, telling it that it's an outreach email copywriter agent for Purple Unicorn Marketing Agency. So this agent is responsible for drafting the email and attaching the videos later on in the Gmail, right? So here we want to add, again, an OpenAI chat model. We want to choose 5.1 for this as well. Okay, so good to go there. Because we specified specific output format, what happens is adding an output parser here. So what a structured output parser is telling the AI JSON format that you want it to output into. So in this case, we literally wanted to have two components, which is title and body, without any annotation explanation. So that's what I did. Essentially just a curly bracket here with the title component and body component. Again, all of this is going to be into the template. You don't have to copy anything. So we're good to go there. But just in case, so sometimes it's not reading it well, you can add an autofix. This is optional. So you can do an autofix. Of course, with the autofix, that means you got to attach another model in order to do that. So this doesn't have to be a very advanced model. So I'm gonna just attach a 4.1 mini. So yeah, we're good to go here. I'm gonna hit execute step and let that run. So there you go. There's a title and body as two separate components. And this is the subject line. Body is the entire email. So hi Teddy, I recorded a short video for walking you through this, but in a nutshell, home seekers are already in-house media, which is good. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna move on to the next note here, which is the final note for this particular funnel. And this would be a send message through Gmail. And in this case, I want it to go to Automate with Mark, not Teddy's actual email, of course, because I don't want it to be sent to him. So what I did was I'm just dragging that title, drop it in here so that it dynamically changes based on the title. And then also the body of the message. And there are two ways now to attach the video. So in this case, I'm gonna do a simple basic text by dragging in the URL. So in this case, I would say video URL basically is like this. And from get result, I have the video URL here. I'm going to just drag. So this is going to paste the video URL link into the email as a link, right? Of course, you'll see later on the format that it comes out in may not be the best. And so if you want it to be attached to the email, for example, you might want to then have an intermediate node of downloading it to binary, for example, right? So, convert JSON data to binary, and then when that produces an output data that can be an attachment, you can do an add option and add an attachment here into the email. But in this case, I'm going to keep it very simple, just taking the video URL, pasting it as text over here, and then sending it over, right? So I'm going to hit execute step. All right, so let's go to my email and see what I'm receiving. Yeah, all right, so this is what I'm getting in my email, right? So Teddy, quick idea to amplify Home Seekers Media Team. I recorded a short video walking you through this, but in a nutshell, home seekers are already ahead in your in-house media team and social-driven marketing. When Purple Unicorn can plug in is adding influencer-led formats on top of what you're already doing. Think local property, finance, lifestyle creators, co-hosting tours, and how to upgrade from HDB to condo safely. Now, this is very specific to the Singaporean real estate market, HDB to condo. So I think OpenAI, GPT 5.1, and Perplexity are just doing a really good job at getting the contacts and working it into a personalized email. In this video, I share a simple, okay, so it went into the video a little bit, not knowing what is in the video. So this could be a problem later on when it goes into production, right? Because it might not tally with what I'm saying in the video. So one way around that is to actually let it have context to what kind of video that's been generated by the scripting agent, right? So passing the output of the scripting agent maybe into a memory, an attached memory, or a database. Could be a Google Sheet file if you want, and then attaching it to the email agent, asking it to check against the content of the video that we generated. But in this case, this is the video that is attached. Again, there's this email sent automatically with n8n. You can disable that by going into the add options under append n8n attribution and just toggle that off, and that will remove the automated by n8n text. So here, if you were to click on the URL link,
Teddy, I came across home seekers.
That is the video that's been generated. So cool, that is actually the first funnel there. So the second funnel is actually an additional voice note, which is going to be generated by ElevenLabs. So just type in 11 and ElevenLabs should pop up. And this node has to be installed first. So as you can see, I've pre-installed this. So if you haven't and you're on n8n Cloud, you can actually install this. But of course, you can actually use a HTTP request node to call an ElevenLabs API, which I've covered in my past videos too. I'll link it up here and down below if you're interested. But in this case, using the node is just much easier if you're on n8n Cloud. Here, what I want to do is convert text to speech, right? So that's the option that I want to choose. So this is a separate line, which is down here. Okay, so I already have an account created And again, if you don't have an account created, it's easy. Just go to create credential. You'll be asked for an API key. And again, for API key, you can go to ElevenLabs.io and of course sign up, create the account. Once you're in this dashboard, go to your profile here and under settings, I think it's under settings, let's see. Was it under developers? Yes, under developers, toggle over to the API keys tab here. As you can see, I've got a bunch already created. You can just create new API keys and paste it on the credentials right here and you'll be good to go, right? So here, resource is speech, text to speech is the operation. So from the voice, I want to choose by ID, right? So because I have actually created a clone of my voice, right? So if you go to voices, you'll see on your top right hand corner, you can actually create or clone a voice, right? So there are a few options here, but for it to sound, as much as you as possible, you would want it to be a professional voice clone. So in this case, you can upload up to 2 hours of audio. However, this is a paid feature, so which means you have to be either on a creator or a business subscription, something like that, in order to use this. But otherwise, I think instant voice clone is something that you can use on any tiers if I'm not mistaken. But I've done the professional voice clone. I actually just did it, so I don't actually know what the result will be like. So we're gonna find out together. So here you can copy voice ID. This is the voice that I've created. And then I'm gonna go back to my n8n note here. So I'm gonna paste literally that voice ID right here. And for text, I'm just gonna drag the output into the text here. So it's gonna dynamically just narrate that. All right, so I'm gonna hit execute step. And there we go, it's actually outputting a binary format data. So what did you download? You download the MP3, right? But instead of doing that, what I want to do is I want to upload it to a Google Drive. And the reason why I'm uploading to a Google Drive is because the next node, which is a Twilio node, to push it to SMS or MMS, is going to require the MP3 or the audio file to be hosted in a publicly accessible URL. Right? So Google Drive is actually not the best way to do this, but it's just the easiest. Everyone has access to it. But otherwise, you can use S3 bucket or Dropbox link and stuff like that, which is more suited for a publicly accessible type of file. But in this case, I think it's useful enough to show how it's supposed to all work under this workflow, right? So here, resources file, operations upload, input data name is data, correct. So file name can be audio or voice note. And then parent drive is my drive. So here I'm gonna just pick from this the n8n folder, which is a folder I've created and I made it a publicly accessible folder. So here people can actually view the folder. So, just to make sure that it can be pushed into Twilio. So in this case, I'm gonna hit execute step here. And there we go, it's uploaded to the file, or to the folder, sorry. So with the name voice note right here, right? So, okay. So cool, so now we have that. We have to just open it up again. The web content link that is downloadable here. So that's a publicly accessible URL. The next node we want to hit here is the Twilio node. Here we want to choose the send SMS/MMS. And I already have my Twilio account connected. But if you haven't, what you want to do is go to twilio.com, get signed up, and actually you will be put into a free trial and be given some wallet as well, containing some credits for you to get started with phone numbers. So here what you can do under your account dashboard is to scroll down to account SID, copy that. And the reason why you want that is because if you want to create a new credential, you're going to be asked for account SID as well as auth token. So for auth token over here and copy the auth token, paste the auth token into the Twilio account, credential and hit save. Okay, so now it's connected to Twilio account 2. Resource, we're gonna keep it as SMS. So for MMS, it falls under SMS as well, the same with WhatsApp. So we're gonna choose SMS. Operation is send. So here's where we wanna input the phone numbers to send the MMS from. So for that, we're gonna go back to Twilio. We're gonna need a phone number, right? So under phone numbers, we're gonna go to manage, active numbers. I currently don't have an active number just yet, so I'm gonna buy a number. So here, I'm gonna choose Canada. I want to make sure that I have the SMS and MMS option. So here we go, $1.15. It has voice, SMS, MMS, and fax. All right, so I'm gonna buy this one, agree. So I'm gonna buy this phone number here, okay? So I'm gonna hit configure. Cool, so there's a couple webhooks that you can set up if you want it to be interactive later on as you build this out. But for now, because we only wanna send a one-way communication, we don't need to set this up for now. But what we want to take is a phone number here, which is +1 450. So I'm just gonna literally copy this phone number here, go back to the phone number, make sure that spacing is in there, and then the recipient phone number, I'm just going to put my own phone number. It doesn't actually go straight to Teddy. And under message, what we want to do is we want to grab the web content link, which is the downloadable, publicly accessible URL, and we're going to hit execute step. So what happened was I actually put in a Singapore phone number, and there's some configuration on Twilio that you got to set up before you can send international messages and stuff like that across regions. So you got to set it up before you can actually send it. But here what I want to show, again, actually you don't want to hard code the phone number that you sent to. What you want to do is actually get the phone number directly from the Google Sheet here. Right, so just drag the phone number over here. So that will be the phone number that you want to send to. And as you might want to add the plus sign in front just so that it has a plus sign that goes along with that. Send the message. What you want to do is, of course, the web content link. So when you send this and you hit execute step, that should be sent across to the phone number. But in this case, because there is some regional restrictions and that I have not set up before recording this, unfortunately, it's not going to be sent through. But I think it's good enough to show you guys how roughly it all works together through Twilio. So what the person will receive at the end of the day is a voice note that's left on their phone number that they could listen to. But yeah, so you'll be outreaching to the prospect through email that contains a personalized video that goes to them, but also on their phone through SMS. And if they have WhatsApp, as you can see, there was an option to toggle on WhatsApp on Twilio, so you can do that as well. And of course, you can keep adding on to the funnels, for LinkedIn outreach and stuff like that. And maybe the script that you want ElevenLabs to generate is also not going to be the same script as the video script, so something to note about. But even though we can't send the message out, let's check out the video file that's been generated by ElevenLabs to see what it looks like. So go over to the folder that's been uploaded over there, and we're going to play that.
Hi Teddy, I came across Home Seekers and really liked how you are leaning into digital marketing with your own in-house media team and storytellers, not just plain listings. At Purple Unicorn, we help plug influencer-led formats into setups like yours, so creators bring you new audiences while your team still controls the production and quality. Imagine a finance or property creator co-hosting a how to upgrade from HDB to condo safely video with you, or a lifestyle creator touring one of your key listings and neighborhoods. We could even turn that into a repeatable playbook for your agents across upgrader, investor, and expat segments. If any of that sounds interesting, worth a quick convo to bounce a few ideas around?
Yeah, so that's a voice note. Still sounds a little bit mechanical to me, a little bit more tweaking required there. Maybe I just generally sound a bit more monotonous and robotic perhaps. But yeah, at least in terms of the workflow perspective, I think, it all works together. So there you have it. That's an easy way to put together a workflow when you can automate hyper-personalized video content as well as voice note to your prospects on multi-channels. And again, once you set this up, this could be timed to whenever a new prospect is added to the sheet or any of the list that your team works off from. So let me know if you come across any difficulties in any part of the build. And as always, if you find this content useful, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.